Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my Docker and Kubernetes project. So first I'll be going over the history of containerized development through a Lego example that I have, as well as the important terminology, what is Kubernetes, the related research to Kubernetes in terms of my project plan, and then I'll show you a quick demo, and then I'll follow with the results, the benefits and pitfalls of Kubernetes, the future of Kubernetes, the future research related to Kubernetes and where I think it's heading to, and also some research that I'm interested in, as well as my final thoughts, in which I'll wrap up. So first we started out with virtualization, and then we continued into containerized development because we wanted to improve upon the efficiency of utilizing operating systems. And then this led into Google's G-Cloud's history, in which they started out with the development of Borg, which really focused on the batch processing as well as the long-running services, which had to be orchestrated. So then came along Omega, which improved upon Borg and enabled you to save the state of the containerized machine, which also led to greater efficiency later on down the road and also saved time. And then eventually led to the development of Kubernetes, which really allowed you to orchestrate as well as manage these containerized environments, as well as manage what's known as objects. Finally is Apache Mesos, which is really utilized by a service called DCOS, and I'll be mentioning this later on. So here's some important terminology that you should understand before continuing on. And so we should understand that a virtual machine has what's known as a hypervisor, and it's required that you have a hypervisor. And so hypervisors are something that, such as VMware, vSphere, and also VirtualBox is an example of a hypervisor. And then on top of that is the guest operating system, which has their bins and libraries associated with them. And then finally you can run your applications on top of that. Now with a containerized environment, however, you're allowed to have the server, the operating system associated with the server. And then on top of that is the bins and libraries, and then the applications that run on top of that, all managed through something such as Docker. Now also we should understand what pods are, and they're actually linked to containers. And so when you're using Kubernetes, this is something important to remember. And then also in terms of nodes, I like to think of them as the master being the king, and then the minions are actually the knights, because the king can control those knights, which is much what happens in Kubernetes. So you're probably wondering what Kubernetes is, and it's actually a tool that provides the orchestration, deployment, self-healing, and scalable containerized environments, making it very easy for DevOps and also network administrators. And so in the picture here, we'll notice that there's the server, which has a host operating system, and then we have the bins and libraries. Now each app has to be different for each colored library. So for example, the application on the left, we can call that app A, and then the application on the right there on top of Kubernetes is app B. Now Kubernetes is under that because it actually controls all those applications, which are essentially containers. And Kubernetes is a container itself when dealing locally with the local deployment of Kubernetes, which consistently communicates with Docker. So some related research that I'd like to focus on is a reference architecture for real-time microservice API consumption, which really strives upon the importance of the need for private services and containerized environments for application testing. Then I started reading into the executing the informal processes, which really hits on the important idea of requiring a private cloud-based infrastructure. Then we get into the history of Borg, Omega, and Kubernetes through the article Borg, Omega, and Kubernetes, which first started out with Borg, as previously mentioned, then Omega, then Kubernetes. Now, one thing to keep in mind that Kubernetes was not originally owned by Google. So that's an important point to make. And then going into the article of lightweight Linux containers for consistent development and deployment really focuses on the issue of the need for a prepackaged on-demand infrastructure that is very scalable and easy to move around. Then getting into the article of containers across multiple clouds and data centers really hits on the idea of the need for mobility and scheduling of these containerized environments. So Kubernetes is really a great solution to a majority of these issues we see in these articles. So my original project plan was to create a local environment that was scalable, robust, and less error-prone. And this really provided quite an issue with the local Kubernetes for a number of reasons that I'll discuss in a few moments here. And my other idea was to create a wiki page that is accessible locally through the use of Kubernetes. Now, through this, I found that the interesting fact that the kube control in the local Kubernetes was actually an out-of-date version of the Kubernetes, which was very disappointing and led to many issues, such as not all the same commands were able to be implemented as they were able to in the G-Cloud's infrastructure of Kubernetes. So today, I'm going to show you a few demos consisting of my local Docker deployment and how I was able to create a wiki that was accessible locally. Now let me play the video here, in which what you'll notice is actually right here I used a different directory just to keep everything organized. So I actually created a WordPress directory in which I have my docker compose.yml file. And so inside that file we actually have an image WordPress defined and a database for MySQL. And so this WordPress image is going to run on port 8080, and it's going to specify it to port 80 to be able to access that from the outside. And then also for the WordPress database, I'm using MariaDB. And the reason I'm using that is it was very lightweight, easy to use database that really didn't matter at the time. It was just a quick fix that I decided to come up with. So to run this whole infrastructure, I would use the docker compose up-d command as shown below. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull all the files, if you don't already have them, related to this DB, as well as all the images that are required to have this container run. So if we do docker ps-a, you'll notice that the whole Docker is running, all the WordPress blog. And I actually can type in my local IP address here and we'll be able to get to that WordPress wiki. And so even if we do localhost port 8080, we can still get to the wiki, so that's something important to note. And also here, you'll notice I have the wiki by Sean Sanders page that I have created. So that's pretty cool. And you'll see actually when it was published, which is also a useful thing to keep track of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new page here just to show you how easy it is to create one of these WordPress blog pages. You also have the ability to add media files, so I'm just putting a random file in here just to show you. And you have to hit the publish button in order to actually have this viewable by other users. So here's my quick little test page. It's pretty bland right now, but you can always fix that later on. So I wanted to show again that you can indeed go to your local IP address, still access that page, and have it viewable through port 8080. So kind of the important thing to keep in mind when creating this Docker that I ran into an issue was you actually had to do port forwarding. So in order to accomplish such a task, I'm going to show you here that under VirtualBox, Docker creates a default virtual machine that all this stuff runs in. So you're actually going to have to go to the settings, go to network, and this first adapter here, you're going to have to drop down this advanced tab, and it enables a port forwarding rule to allow your users to access your IP address through port 8080. So the host port 8080 was specified, the guest port is 8080. Now you don't have to use 8080 if you don't want to. You can use a random port, and really any port since it's a local based solution. So in doing so, you also have to make sure that your firewall rules are correctly set so that users from the outside can actually get inside to your IP address, to your WordPress blog. Now here, what we will notice is I'm going to show you my Google Cloud-based solution. I've already created a project called testing, so we have to first set the shell to that testing 1368. So we do the gcloud config set project command and then the testing project ID. After doing so, we do a gcloud config set compute zone, because you have to define the compute zone that you want to perform your clusterized environment in for Kubernetes. And then I create my clusters using the gcloud container clusters create command, in which I just called it WordPress test. You can really name it anything you want. And so by default, this will spin up actually 3 clusters for you. 3 different containers. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And I'll tell you that this creating the cluster can take anywhere from about 3 up to even 5 minutes, depending on the load that's being applied to the Google's cloud platform. This also is actually considered a private cloud environment, which I don't completely agree with. I think it's actually more of a hybrid. But Google decided in their documentation that they wanted to say it's a private cloud based solution. So Again, I'll just show you real quick how long this actually takes. It's going to be quite a while, actually. It's probably going to be about 3-4 minutes here. Looks like it's spun up. So what you'll notice is the zone is set to the compute zone, as well as the master version is set to 1.3.0. Also, it's got a master IP and so forth, and also the number of nodes is set to 3. Also, I may expose the type as a load balancer, so this way I can get external IP address. I'm just simply showing you the various configurations here. Using the kube control, you have to use the kube control get services WordPress command in order to see what the external IP is. Now, it's not exactly perfect. It does take some time to get the external IP address. And it's all due to the networking that's going on in the background of Google's cloud platform. All the networking is automatically taken care of for you. So here we got our external IP address, which I'll copy into the browser. So yep, we're going to copy that, and then I'm going to go to the new tab and just paste it. And here's our WordPress blog. You gotta set up all your default credentials right away. And you definitely don't want to leave this open to the public without setting your default credentials, otherwise someone can compromise your WordPress blog. Okay, I'm going to install the WordPress now. There we go. I'm just going to ignore Dashlane for now. It's not really a big deal to me. So here's our default look of the WordPress. And you'll notice there's tons of different things you can play around with here. I'm just going to create a default wiki page. Also, you notice much of the functionality looks, well, actually this looks much similar to Microsoft Word, I think, which is kind of nice for new users who are just trying to create web pages from scratch without much knowledge of HTML. You'll notice also I spelled this word wrong on purpose just to check out and see if there was indeed any type of spell checking, which there was, so that's good to know. Also, you can create block quotes very easily, which is something you'll see every once in a while in certain websites. So to get rid of the block quotes, you just click on the double quotes there. It's pretty simple. Also, you have the ability to add bulleted items, hyperlinks, and so forth. Also, you can add different media files as well. Also, there's essentially kind of the pseudocode, I consider this, of HTML scripting. So that's essentially what I did there, is I'm just going to have it as a bold. Pretty easy. Also, I'm going to add a media file here, which I'll do the same one as before. You can view the page right away. If you like it, just hit the back button and should be good to go after publishing. Here I'm going to change my default theme because I don't like the bland look of it. And the themes do take a little bit of time to load, so there, took about a minute there. But it seems like these containers are actually quite responsive with this WordPress blog being installed on top of it. So there I am creating a new menu. So if I try to go out of this without saving it, it's going to actually make sure I want to actually leave or stay. So I'm going to click stay, hit the create menu button to actually create the menu. And then I can save it if I choose, or try to leave again. I didn't really feel like saving it, so. So here's kind of where you can check all the activity that's going on with your WordPress. You have also the ability to add new items or anything else of your choosing that you want to keep track of by just dragging any box into the drag boxes here section. So through doing this whole project, I found that local Kubernetes is not really suitable for commercial use, but it is really useful for creating a quick and dirty test environment for application developers and so forth. Also, for the local Kubernetes, you can obtain a local IP address, which is kind of a pitfall of the older Kubernetes. And also, the kube control is out of date, leading to other issues that are unforeseeable to a new user. And also, I found that gcloud is very easy to use and quite quick. Also, setting up containers through Docker is easier, and also you can obtain an external IP address, possibly. But also you can obtain a local IP address, which is definitely a benefit if you want to create a quick and dirty local wiki page. So some benefits of the local Docker is it's easy to implement. You definitely have much more control over your environment. And you can get a local IP address, which is an added benefit. Now with gcloud Kubernetes, there's no worrying about networking. It's all automatically taken care of for you. You do have the ability to change some of the networking through navigating through some of the menus and stuff and playing around with the networking, such as firewall rules, in which you have the ability to have some inbound and outbound rules. Also, there's plenty of documentation that's provided for the gcloud Kubernetes. If you want to do something, there's probably documentation for it. Also, the use of YML and shell scripts are allowed to set up the environment, and then you can get an external IP address. Also, with local Kubernetes, you have the ability to easily deploy containerized environments, and the use of shell scripts are easy to use, as well as the YML files.